today we're going to be tying the crab Rangoon fly. No, not this. This. So first we're going to start with our favorite hook right here, these Yanru 305S hooks. I've been using these a lot lately. They are from House of Fly. Really good overall hook in my opinion. It's a heavy wire. I love these hooks. I think they look really good. They tie really well. And then for our thread, we're going to be using this. This is a 210, I believe. Yep, 210 denier. I use this basically for everything. Getting this guy threaded on here. But yeah, I like a 210 denier just because it's a bit stronger than most of your other stuff. Mosquitoes are in my garage. My bad. Then we're just going to cut the excess off right here. Throw that on your garage floor. Complain about it later. First thing, we are going to tie in some little bead eyes right here. These are really simple. They're just heavy enough to make something sink, but not heavy enough to like make it sink. So we're going to tie some of these guys on. And for this pattern and just flexo crabs in general, I think you want to try and get that eye or those weights right in the middle just so you can tie a better body on, I've noticed. So we're just going to try and get these guys as centered as possible. Doesn't matter what color those eyes are, of course, or anything like that. I have pink and yellow. Just happens to be what I have. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Don't think the fish are going to care. And then what you want to do is you can take your thread and you're going to try and get all the way over here. And actually, what I can try and do is get this hook a little bit higher up. There we go. What you're going to do is try and get your thread all the way over here. So you're just going to go over here. And then be careful to not try, or be careful to not hit. When you're doing this, be careful not to try and hit the thread to the point. It won't break automatically, but you'll hear like a little clink, clink. And that's just that hook point obviously kind of sawing away at your thread. And then later on into this pattern, it'll come undone and it's not fun. So just be cautious of that. Next, we're going to take our body right here. This is a body tubing. This is a really durable material. I have one other material. I don't know where it is, but it's not as durable. Make sure when you're trying to find a good flexo material, make sure it's a really good one. This has a pike on it, so if it can survive a pike, it can probably survive the toothless fish that we're targeting. So what we're going to do is just take it like this and then get it over this guy. And then what I like to do is pinch it back here and then just kind of see what kind of a body you want, how big you want. And what you're going to do is just go like that. And then I like to cut a little bit more than I need. And I'll explain it here in a minute. Also, be sure you have a good pair of scissors. These aren't good. It makes life a little bit harder. But what we're going to do is take like that much material. And then this is kind of the easier part on this fly, tying wise. So when you tie it in, just take your fingers, pinch this, pinch it, and then you're just going to tie that, squeeze this down as easy as you can. Again, be careful not to hit the shank or the pointy part of the hook because you don't want that thread to get cut down in any way. And then I'm going to make 1, 2 more wraps. And then I'm going to take my whip finish and I'm going to carefully whip finish this guy. Maybe just like 2 whip finishes in here. So there's that one. And then I'm going to come back around. Not the prettiest whip finish in the world, but it should get it done. And then you're just going to whip finish that guy. You're going to go like that. Then you're going to take your scissors. Crappy or not, you're going to cut that guy off. What you're going to do to make the actual crab body is push this guy up as much as you want, as fat as you want the crab, as not fat as you want the crab, and then I'll show you what we got to do. But what I actually want to do on this specific pattern, crab Rangoon, it's got to have a little bit of stuffing, right? So what we're going to use is this material right here. It's made by MFC. It's called Widow's Web. And it's white. I'll show you guys that right there. Widow's Web. It's white. And then what we're going to do is I want to make this crab possibly float a little bit more, because where I'm going on my upcoming trip, there is supposedly a lot of weeds and the fish like to hide in them, etc., etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my widow's web right here and just kind of ball it up. Just going to kind of try and ball it up in my hands. Not a lot, not a little bit. So we're just going to go like that. And then if you pull back on the tubing, you should be able to stuff this in there. And then what I'm going to do is just take a blunt end tool and then just shove this in there as such. Doesn't need to be pretty or anything such. So we're just going to shove that in there like that. So you have your crab rangoon stuffing. And then what you're going to do is take that, pinch it like that, so it's going to form a body. You can kind of feel for that eyelid. And then the hard part is kind of making this wrap. So you're going to just try and make it the best you can. I don't really have any tips for doing this, honestly, but just kind of make a wrap like that, and then you have to kind of play with the shape of the flexo body because it kind of wants to move on you, obviously. And then just do this, and I'll show you a tool that I just got from House of Fly, not a sponsor, that makes this all a little bit nicer, especially for this pattern. It definitely helps, I believe. And for that front one, I'm going to do more than just one whip finish. I'm probably going to do two just because I want it to be rather secure. To finish that down, obviously cut your excess. Get rid of that. Then we're going to take this, cut this off. And then what I have been introduced to, and I got this from House of Fly. This guy was only 20 bucks. You could probably get him from Amazon for cheap too. But it's just going to be a cautery tool. So what you can also do is you can also just use a lighter, and you can light it and then just kind of put it right here, and it kind of burns back these body materials. But what I like to do is actually use this cautery tool. It gets really hot. Obviously, don't touch the tip. But what I like about it is when you burn these with the cautery tool, it kind of actually, and I want to first of all, want to cut some of this excess with just this guy, just so I don't have to cauterize so much crap. But what you do with the cautery tool, and I think it actually makes this fly a little bit more durable. All I'm doing right now is just kind of cutting this excess material off of this guy. So what I'm going to do is take my cautery pen, obviously turn it on, and then I don't know if this camera might catch it, but what you're going to do is just turn this guy on red hot, and then just light taps, a little smoky. And what I'll do is just do this rough, and then I'll actually pick up the fly and do this in my hands. But what I like about this is it actually takes that material, and if you do it correctly, it actually lays over the thread a little bit and kind of secures that thread a little bit more, in my opinion at least. I don't know if that's like an actual thing or not, but I feel like it does. So there you go. And again, really cheap tool. House of Fly has it for like 20 bucks. This one is made by Hairline, so obviously it's made for fly fishing. You can obviously buy other ones that probably aren't made for fly fishing, but they're the exact same. So you just do this. Get that butt end nice and burnt. So now what we're gonna do is take our it's called a Super Chenille or Ultra Chenille. I have this color, and then I have this color over here, just a darker color, lighter color. And then what you're gonna do is you're just gonna take this guy out, and I'll show you a little tip that I haven't seen yet mentioned in any of the other tutorials I've watched. Just take a good amount. You're gonna take like maybe like 6 inches or so. Take your little tool, just cut this guy. Cuts rather easily. And then what you're gonna do, and this is another important tool, is you're gonna take this guy right here. I think it's called a thread bobbin, something like that. You can also use, it always comes in like little sewing kits. You can use one of those as well. The only problem with that one is it's not as long as this guy, so I'm trying to find it, but I can't find it. Oh, it's this little dude right here. I used to use this little dude. So this is you, and this is the guy that she tells you not to worry about. You know, yeah. So what you're gonna do with this guy is you're going to just kind of go like this, fix your body as much as you want. You take this guy and you just poke it through this side of the fly, and then you'll see it's going to pop out there. So as you can see, it pops out there. And then you can like look over here, see if it's actually lined up how you want it to. That's not as good as I want it to be, so I'm just gonna readjust. Go a little bit down here. Be a little picky with my placement here, I guess. And then, there you go. I like that. That looks good to me. I'm gonna stick with that. And then what you're gonna do is take your little Chanel thread here, double it over like such. And this makes this a little bit easier. And then you just put this guy up like that. So now it is part of your bobbin, and then you're just going to go like that. And then don't be afraid to pull it a little bit. This material, like I said already, is really tough. And then there go your little crab legs. So what you're gonna do is, obviously, to make the crab legs, you're gonna cut this guy right here. And then at the end, we'll make this all to length and make it look pretty and fish ready. So you just do that like such. And then I want to take my darker color Chanel right here, and then I have to make the little legs that go on this guy. So to make the legs, again, you're just going to take a little bit more Chanel, cut this guy like such, and then you take it, you're going to double it over again like that, and then you just take this like that, you roll it over your finger, and then you just put this up like that, and then pop. And then I'll show you in a minute how that'll become our leg. So now you have your little legs made. You're just gonna do the exact same thing as you just did with the legs. And then you're just going to come, or your arms, you have your arms ready, my bad, or your claws. Claws, arms, crab anatomy is the same as human anatomy, right? I don't know. I didn't make that in high school. So you're just gonna do that again. And then what you're gonna do is you're going to put, if the camera wants to focus, you're going to put this side through the bobbin, and then you're going to pull through, and you should see the results here in a second. So you put those like that again. You take your bobbin, don't be afraid to give it a little yank, a little tug, and then you're just going to pull that. And since the filling is in there, it makes it a little bit harder, not going to lie. So there you go. You basically have all your appendages on there as they should be. And then now all you're going to do is take a pair of scissors or your little wire cutters, and you're going to clip off the excess materials. Just clip that guy off. We're going to clip this guy off. And then for our legs or our little claws right here, take them and then cut them to length as well. We're basically done. The last thing is little eyeballs. I've actually made a good amount of these. I'll probably make a video on this later. This is all DIY stuff. These little eyeballs are all DIY. Really cool how I made them, in my opinion. But I'll make a video on that in a little bit. I actually kind of like them pointing out a little bit like that. One more ingredient that I actually forgot. It's going to be this tungsten putty. This you can get from your Hobby Lobbies, your Michaels, no, Joann's is out of business, so I don't recommend going there because it's going to be a waste of time. But it's just tungsten putty. It's for like what Boy Scouts use if you were ever like a Cub Scout or whatever on their Pinewood Derby cars, if you remember those days. It's just going to be this stuff right here, just a little putty. And all I'm going to do is take a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of this and just take it off. So about like, maybe like a very thin pinky nail. That's how much I'm going to take. So what I'm going to do is just take my Q-tip, put it in here because my super glue is being really stupid. Sniff that. Is there super glue on there? Sure. Just a light little dab. Say goodbye to you. Then take your little bit of a tungsten putty right there. Kind of form him how you want on there like such. And then what we're going to do is take our Solaris, so our UV resin. We're going to take this stuff. We're basically going to cement everything down, the eyes, the appendages, and then the little tungsten putty here, just so everything's on him and isn't going to obviously poof when it goes in the water. So we're just going to do this just for some extra security. Obviously, if I had to take a wild guess, if this gets hit by a fish, the first thing that's going are probably the eyes. So we can just roughly put some Solaris over them. And there you have it, our little crab Rangoon fly. It looks really good in my opinion. I actually really like putting that tungsten putty on the bottom of that. I think that'll give this fly a little bit better of a chance of evenly keeling out when it gets on or under the water or anything like that. And then I think that that little Rangoon filling will also hopefully keep this little fly, hopefully keep this little fly afloat for a little bit before it gets eaten by a big old redfish. So, looks really good. I absolutely love it. Came out good. The only other thing you can do is with a Sharpie, whatever color you want, is kind of color these the way you want just to make it a little bit more textured and more depth. But I absolutely love how this guy came out, and hopefully I use it in an upcoming video, and hopefully it gets crushed. But I hope you guys like this video. Subscribe, comment, let me know what fly I should tie next, what patterns you guys want to see. But other than that, thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing. As always, say yes to fishing. Good night. That's so cool. The crab Rangoon fly.